things I get asked about most frequently is my sermon notes and my live church journaling. So I wanted to share a little bit of my experience and kind of just a handful of tips and tricks with you all. I've been journaling for church journaling for I guess about almost 2 years, year and a half. So I'm certainly not an expert. There are certainly people whose I like better than mine, but I wanted to show you all kind of where I started. So this is my first book. I'm on my third one now. I just started it last week. So there's a lot of progress. The first thing I would tell you before you start is to know your strength. So if you're a great and fast artist, then draw. If you're a faster letterer, then letter. Stick with what you know and what you feel really comfortable with, because the goal of this is to go as fast as you can. So this is my first one. And we can tell it started a little bit rough. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and so I usually put my readings up in the corner using boxes, and this one was better, I think, than the first week, with a variety of fonts. And for me, finding a variety of fonts is really key. Ones that I can do and do quickly. This is kind of a crazy looking banner. A little background patterning. This is kind of a lot, too much. It really is a super trial and error thing. So, and they get better. Finding what fits and what doesn't fit on your hand. I do all of this for the most part. Sometimes I'll go and finish up a little bit of background stuff, but for the most part, I do all the lettering in church. I know that if I took notes and then brought it home to do it, I just would get so caught up in trying to make it look perfect that I couldn't do anything with it. So I'd rather have something as opposed to nothing. So I kind of get what I can. This is busy. So there's a lot going on, and it really is kind of trying to figure out what works for you. I am definitely not a huge fan of super busy, and these first ones are really busy. So, I also found that I work better going down and across than to just kind of hop around the page. I'd rather it be kind of full in the right direction and have to fill in a little bit in the bottom corner or in one little place than having like weird empty patches when I'm done. So some of these are from church, like this one is from church, and then this is a MOPS devotional that I had done in my MOPS group. So there's always, there's good and there's bad. One of my favorite things is to go back and kind of look and to see what fonts I really like to use. But a lot of times I've had people in my sermon notes class tell me that they get frustrated because they can't get everything. And my answer to that is, of course you can't. But even if you were just listening, you wouldn't be able to catch everything either. So this is getting the highlights, and again, some is better than none, and it may not be perfect, but what's important and what's really speaking to you at that time is what's sticking here. And empty page. I am definitely the worst about not being able to keep track of things, or my mind starts to wander, and so this really helps me kind of stick to what's important and making sure that my mind is really on church at the time. So you can see definitely from the front to the back, we're getting a lot better. Another empty page. Sometimes I leave empties if I'm planning to come home and listen to a podcast sermon or something like that, and I may or may not get back to it. So I typically just say if I miss it, I miss it, because we were traveling or whatever, then that's fine. I really like this combination of fonts here. So, notes from MOPS into Lent. Here we go. Let's see. And some weeks it's really just one page, and that's totally okay. It doesn't have to be, you know, so much or, you know, a whole bunch. Now, this page, I like the fonts, but it's really dark. So I try to keep kind of a mental note that it needs to be 1/3 dark and 2/3 light, or otherwise it gets really, really heavy. So that's my first one. Let me scoot over here and I'll show you. This is my second one. And you'll see that I really kind of embrace that lightened up feel of the whole thing. You can see the pages are a lot lighter. There's less dark, heavy fonts. So, and again, using kind of simpler boxes. I love a good banner, but I have a really hard time drawing it on the fly, I'm not going to lie. Some of my favorite boxes are just simple lines or a little cross hatching. Goes a long way. And this is my little standby vine that I use all the time. And it's really just a line with little hearts drawn on it. So, again, you can see lines with zigzags. Simple, simple, simple. And the more I do this, I kind of find that I find things that I enjoy doing and adding, and I kind of stick with those things. So I do, for me, the hardest part is coming up with new fonts all the time. So I keep a little sticky note in the back of my journal. And if I just am really stuck and I don't know what to do, I'll look at this. So like a thick sans with a shadow, a whimsical lower print, a tall thin serif, a fat thin bounce, and small tall capitals. And sometimes it'll just jog something. My goal is to never have two of the same fonts right next to each other. I also, so sometimes I'll stick a little hem in here if I really like the hem. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. There's pages I like better than others, don't get me wrong. But there's no right or wrong way, and it really is about enjoying and getting the most out of your time sitting in church. If you're going to go and sit for an hour or 2 hours, then get the most out of your experience. And for me, that's what journaling helps me do. I get the most out of what's there. So this is from when I went to MomCon. And it was amazing. Anyways, yes, lettering, all my MomCon lettering. And then back to my regular church lettering. So as I kind of got to the end of this book, I was focusing more on my lettering and less on my boxes and my in-between spaces. And I could go back and fill it in, but I don't really dislike it. Oh, need to go in and finish my O's there. But I think it doesn't look as finished, but I like the way that my lettering looks neater and the message is clearer. And I also have had, as I get more used to doing this, I have time to add kind of my own questions of reflection or my own thoughts in addition to the things that are being shared with us during the homily or the sermon. So, Christmas Eve Mass. Here we go. Ooh, cross those A's. So some of these I definitely need to go back for. Let me say back into this. And like I said, here's more of kind of that moment of reflection. And then, so this last day of church, there was a reading that I really loved, and so I had pulled some of it for my journaling, but I took this last page, since it was a half page, and just kind of wrote out the verses as something I wanted to remember. So, and then this is my newest book. You can see such a difference from the first view. This was from Mops, from a mom that was sharing. But there's lots of things to take away and things to think about. And here we go. Let's pull I really like this page, I'm not gonna lie. All right, so from here to here, there's just a huge difference. And I don't practice every day, but I do practice every Sunday, and I will tell you that practice will take you further than anything else. So I recommend grab your journal, grab a pen, and just go for it, because you can totally do this. It is something that really just takes practice and finding what fits you and what your strengths are and how fast you can go. I do offer a class in sermon notes, and so I'm getting ready to schedule one for the East Tennessee area. So if you're interested, pay attention to my website. My classes are at www.letteringwithleslie.com/classes, and I would love to see you all and to practice sermon notes. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments or a video or on my blog, and I'll be happy to answer them and kind of give you any information that I have. But thanks for listening, and I hope it was helpful.